I'm going to do a pledge of allegiance followed by the minute sign. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
That guy going silent.
Roll call.
Commissioner Moore?
Here.
Commissioner Wong?
Here.
Commissioner Beckler? Here. Commissioner White?
Here.
Commissioner Evans?
Here.
Commissioner Roderick?
Here.
President Kissler?
Here. Executive session.
We held an executive session immediately prior to this meeting to discuss personnel items.
Department reports. Code enforcement.
Just vacation out for day 2 of the season fall next month. The only other thing I have is I want to make mention, the Allegheny County Vacant Property Program is again having their program this year where some fees are waived or reduced for anybody that's able to acquire some side yard or some light structure for repair down here into that fund.
Just explain
The
that.
Allegheny County Vacant Property Program is offering their yearly special where they waive some fees or discount other fees. If there's anyone that has abandoned property by them, you may be able to get it as a side yard or to rehabilitate or demolish an abandoned structure if it meets the program guidelines. There's information available here at the Township building and on our website.
In reading that, John, it had to be an adjacent property, is that correct, or could it
You
be?
can get it through the side yard program as an adjacent property, or if you want to rehabilitate a blighted structure, then it does not have to share a common boundary.
Okay, engineer.
The updates I have tonight are, will be discussed under other items. The only thing that I would add, when we get to the paving, we did conduct the paving bid opening prior to this meeting. We received 4 bids that range from $354,052 up to $393,740.44. So it is on the agenda tonight for a contingent approval, and we will take those back to our office and review.
And which company was the lowest?
Independent Enterprises.
What was your budget, Brian, for that? Did it come with the budget?
The estimate was $360,000, and the other 2 bids were $356,000.
And that's milling also?
I guess.
Police?
For the month of June, there were 994 events logged in Allegheny County 911 for employment. 12 adult arrests, 2 juvenile arrests, a total of 14. Officers conducted 64 traffic stops, and issued 24 traffic citations. During the month of June, officers investigated 16 motor vehicle crashes, 12 reportable, 4 non-reportable, with 7 injuries because of these crashes.
Thank you. Public Works.
We've been doing a lot of prep work for the roads to be paved, but we're all stopped now, because we're gonna work on the Nashville routes down there. It's just a little bit of time, we gotta get everything done, trying to stay ahead of paving that. You know, but I wanna get that project done down here as soon as, like, possibly can. We haven't run into no problem today, but we're just starting.
Solicitor?
Nothing else out of the items we discussed in executive session.
Okay, are we working any overtime since we're backed up like this?
We flew with it.
No, we won't be doing that, right?
The only. Yeah, the one announcement that I will make involving the sanitary system is that I got a call from Dennis Otiviani, he's the manager at Veolia. And we had an issue with our generator down at the sewage plant. And the estimated cost of replacing it was about $100,000. And he was able to get a contact that had to use one for 20, and it's running better than it ever did. We're gonna be able to use it after we take our sewage plant offline and pump our sewage under the McKeesport. We'll still be able to use the same generator. So it was a smart move to go with the used ones. I'm gonna now take citizens that wanna address agenda items, and out of the list, there's only 2. Pastor Mark Price. First.
Chris?
Yeah.
I don't want to take up too much time. I took a long time in our last meeting, but talk to you. Can I come to them?
Either way.
Okay, sorry. I don't want to take a lot of time on it because we did talk about it a lot last time, but after the meeting, I actually had a chance to sit around and talk to some of the people that I didn't know yet. And they asked me a couple of quick questions I thought. I just want to address those real quickly. This is about the idea that Spirit Chapel would become the caretaker to help finish the renovation of the Chapel Drive property, and afterwards become a tenant there in the lease program. So the first question that I was asked was, doesn't this violate the separation of church and state? Which is a good question. It doesn't, and the reason it doesn't is because we're not talking about transfer of property. We're talking about lease. It is no different really than the Girl Scout camp. That's a rental. It's just a different term between the rental of hours and the lease of years. But the idea is that and you can rent that Girl Scout camp for anything, for a children's birthday party, for a wedding reception where adults get drunk, celebrate, or you could also rent it for religious activities, and several churches in the area have done so, including us. In fact, I believe that Mount Vernon actually rents it every Monday for their youth program. It would actually be illegal to tell them they couldn't do that because it's a township space, and if they told them they couldn't, that actually violated their religious rights as well as their freedom of speech. So same thing would apply here. There's no concern there at all. I was also asked a question, why would the township give your church a building? No one's giving us a building. Actually, the way it's going to go is that we're going to put our time and effort and our labor into finishing out the way the original diagram was. It's kind of an open concept with a kitchenette in the back and 2 handicap accessible bathrooms, including the walls and the ceilings and everything that's not in there now. And then after that matches up and we get the certificate of occupancy, we're going to rent it, lease it for fair market value. If anybody's curious about this kind of stuff, it's actually going to be a higher lease for us than what we have now, but we think we can serve the township better there, and we will continue to do what we do, which is we're going to have all kinds of activities there for the community, open and free. Summer activities, fall activities, horseback rides, archery, all the things we've done, we're just going to do there. So I wanted to say that. And I guess the final thing I want to say for those of you who weren't here for the presentation last time is just an answer to all the other, well, what if we did this, what if we did that, what couldn't we do this? I think my answer to all of those questions is a simple 2 words: 10 years. It's been 10 years that the township has had this property, and nothing really of substance has been done there. Give us a year, and I'll show you some recreational activities there. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you. The only other agenda speaker is Emil Bureau.
I didn't know he was going to speak, but I'm all for doing that as long as we meet all the criteria on item 15 here. And the other thing, and I tell a lot of people this, and I told Andrew, and I told a couple other people, a good deal is a good deal if both sides are happy with it. And the other thing that I am concerned with, is as long as, that thing's been sitting dormant for 10 years. I didn't even know it was that long. It needs to be finished, it needs to be used, and it needs to be used for the community. And, but that's all I have to say about that. But I want to add one thing tied in with that, because he mentioned it. I also think at the same time, the Girl Scout camp should be put up for sale. There was a buyer for it. I don't know if that buyer is still available. And I think you ought to put that on agenda, take a vote, and advertise it. Thank you. I have some other stuff to say, but that are non-agenda. I'll make it.
Oh, I got it.
My name is Sandy Hearn. I live on Browse Drive in the township. I believe we should develop the Chapel Drive property that we now have. That would be my preference. But if not, if the township is going to do a conversion, then Chapel Drive should be appraised, marketed, and sold for not less than $265,000 it was purchased for or more. Does the township own the mineral rights for the property, and have we leased those rights? Would the township have to do a split deed to sell the property? If Spirit Chapel wants the property, they should buy it. That's what other churches have done, is buy property. I do not think Elizabeth Township taxpayers should be buying building materials for church, nor do I think it would be legal. If St. Michael's needs a new roof, should the taxpayers chip in? I do not think a church should control township-owned property. If I would like to rent it for a party or a gathering, would I go to the municipal building and see Joel as with the community center or Girl Scout camp? Who would control that? Would I or could I be on a township committee to help draw the plans for the recreation center to its specifications? The size of the facilities, materials, the type of flooring, sports or activities to be accommodated, whether it's a meeting center, whether it's a library. Who else was this deal offered to? Because it sounds like the deal's already been figured out, so who else was that offered to? It sounds like Pastor Grice has it all figured out. Who else has this been, where else has this been done? And how long is the lease for that we're talking about? Those are my questions. Anyone?
Those are all really good questions. I can't answer them. None of this has been discussed. There's been no negotiations on contract or lease. The end of the last two questions on your list. I believe that the oil, gas, mineral rights have already been purchased.
Lease, you mean?
Couldn't say that for sure.
Part of it, the other part of the job.
Main part. That was kept out of separate.
Okay,
Thank you. Okay, discussion items, waiving sewage line fee for actively employed military.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we discussed this before, and when it originally came up, you know, I was against, like, as far as waiving for certain individuals or whatever, but whenever it was, you know, brought to my attention it was active military, I really do have a change of heart on that, and I do think we should do something for our military, veterans that are actively deployed, and I know, you know, we had some, you know, I know there's different opinions on the board, but as far as, we don't have that many actively deployed in Wisdom Township, so I mean, if it's only a couple people, I mean, I you know, and I'm one person on this board, so I mean, but I just, originally, I didn't want it to snowball for people going to Florida and everything else, but if it only applies to active military veterans, I'm kind of okay with that, so.
It was presented from the beginning, it was presented as military deployment.
Well, I know, but I didn't want it to snowball, and that's why, and like I said, that's
And
why.
I'm all for that.
So,
How much is that? I totally agree with Greg Reed on that. For someone that's willing to go into service, and I think this is the least we can do, and if you're making that as a motion, I'd be happy to second.
I'll make it as a
I'll
motion.
second it. I'll second it.
Well, good.
I just have one comment on this. So general deployment is 6 months. Minimum payment on sewage is $42. So $250. My son's in the service. He's about to be deployed on September 1st. When he leaves, they will double his salary and he will pay no taxes. $250 out of our pocket, but that service person's kicking it. And so that's where I'm balanced on this whole thing.
I get you, Kyle, I really do.
I don't understand where do you cut it off? Because there are people in this township that own abandoned homes that are paying $42 a month and they're using no water. I'm sure some of them are veterans, some of them are retired military people. So where does the line end? Does it end it actively? Does it end it inactive? Does it end it senior citizens that fought in World War II that are paying $42 a month and they're not using water? Like, where does it end?
I think right now it's only for.
It sounds good. Like it sounds.
We've done it in the past.
Well, the things that you've done in the past, I haven't really.
Well,
But
these were active,
But I do think that we need to get, once we get everything together with our cost of, because I mean, the next thing that you're gonna discuss is Act 537 plan approval, and I believe once that's all together, I do think if you don't use water, you shouldn't have to pay sewage, but you should pay something to reserve that tap. So whether it's a minimal or whatever, but I do think we need to get on a page and figure that out, because it's not fair for people that aren't using the sewage at all, to pay $42 a month, and everybody else. But on the flip side of that, that's built into our budget, and we would have to raise rates for everybody else. So there's a give and a take, and there's a lot, but I do think it's something we need to discuss and figure out, Andrew, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah, just,
It's
just so
something,
that we're clear, yeah, the $42 is not based on the usage.
No.
The $42 is for the capital
Improvements.
improvements of
To
putting the
maintain the
system in
system.
and maintaining it. So like, we have a big capital expense, and we know to issue bonds and do things and do the 537 plan. So that is built in based on based on the number of residents. That's why you have a minimum charge. So that's why it's sort of, and also the value of that tap in itself, right? Because you have to pay for that tap. So so for those two reasons is why most, if not all, charge a base fee. So that's where it's coming from.
Matt, you just hit it right on the head. It's all part of the infrastructure that we are trying to build. Now, basically what we're trying to do here is to say to a person who's chosen to be in the service, okay, we'll save you $250. That's what we're trying to say. And we've had countless people ask us to waive these fees over the years, and we've always said, we can't, because it's part of the infrastructure. I'm really torn here, but I know my son can afford it if he goes away. Double his salary, no tax.
Well, we have a motion in a second, so let's do a roll call.
Well, you're gonna have to read the motion again, because there's some, I wanna know exactly what we're voting for. This is active duty deployed, out of country deployed, as in, are we going to, militarized zone, or we going to, Hawaii, or what's this gonna say?
Put that active duty in your motion, Rob.
Active duty deployed,
I'd like to answer that.
go ahead.
There's two things. One, it's real simple. They cut orders for the individual, so all he has to do is bring the orders in if it's 6 months, 9 months, or 3 months. Just present the orders, and secondly, if they're being deployed overseas in a combat zone, it's in their orders, and for somebody to put their life on the line, I think that's a fair thing to do.
Well, again, he chose his
I was
job.
gonna mention that, but I forgot.
He chose his job. It is the family of these people are still gonna be living in the house and racking up the sewage bills, and now we're gonna let them off the hook? What's
so
next?
let me change that motion too, because I'll make a point there, and that was, we're gonna make it's a motion to waive the sewage line fee for actively deployed military service with zero usage.
With zero
With
use?
zero usage. If they're leaving the house vacant, their family's going with them, and they're still gonna be resident of this township, so let's do that, let's say zero, let's add zero usage to it.
I have no problem saying.
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Simula,
Yes.
Commissioner Law.
Yes.
Commissioner Beckwith.
Yes.
Commissioner Blake.
Yes.
Commissioner Evans.
Yes.
Commissioner Rogers.
Yes.
President Kuzma.
Yes. Next discussion item is the Act 537 plan approval. You want to discuss that? He's finally here.
Yeah, I guess the discussion item, topic says it all. Several weeks ago, we finally did get the DEP approval on the Act 537. It was submitted at the end of 2016 and has been sitting due to legal issues. There were no comments or special provisions for that. The plan was approved as submitted. So we've started gearing back up to get the project moving again. We're in discussions with the DEP on the timeline, given the time period that it sat due to their delay or review. And we have set up some meetings to meet with the trail for the force main. And I guess just generally that the project will be moving once again now that we've received that approval.
Do we have a dollar amount on it?
We have an updated cost estimate. I don't have that figure on me tonight. That's something that we haven't updated since we touched it, last, but I could pass that on.
Are you aware of the fact that the township service property from Buena Vista to Springtown is right along the trail?
That information recently has been discussed. I think that given the alignment and where we need to be, that it's not gonna be beneficial to go off of the path of the trail. So, I am aware of that, but we haven't, there's been no further discussion or anything like that.
Yeah, if we can't use our property to the pipe, I think what he might be alluding to is that, we use the property for storage of pipe and industrial equipment, that type of thing, so just something to keep in mind. The third discussion item is mechanic to inspect volunteer fire department vehicles. Commissioner Walt, you wanna take that one?
Yeah, I was, hey, Joe, that company I saw, they do Buell's trucks. That's what I noticed in the budget today. What was the name of that company?
Casey Trucking.
Casey Trucking. Is that who takes care of your trucks, Billy? Oh, you take them anyway. So I was approached by, a representative from Central Fire Hall, asking if, we would okay the inspection of their fire vehicles, because they have to take them and pay for that. And, it seemed like a good idea to me, simply because we have representatives, we have volunteer firemen that are employed here at the township, and so it's kind of like bring the truck to work with you deal. And the mechanic we have, Patrick, he has the proper licensing to do this.
I talked to Patrick, he came back from vacation, and he said the only way he could do it is if they were registered with the township.
Oh.
So the township have to have ownership.
That's correct.
That's my question.
That takes care of that.
You don't think it's years ago that was the issue? The township.
We actually doing our homework.
That's a great idea.
She needs to run.
So that puts a kibosh on
She
that.
knows more than they do.
Yeah. All right,
Well, who is, let's put that out there. This, Casey Trucking. Joe, would you tell them what they told you? Because maybe some of the chiefs are here that they could remember this and take it back.
Actually, I didn't speak to anybody from there, it's just another member of volunteer fire department. I had asked him, where does he take his trucks? And he said, we take all our trucks to Casey, they say it's the least they can do is inspect volunteer fire department's vehicles for their service. And then while they're there, the fire department that I spoke with said they pay after oil change and whatever else might be done on the vehicle, but Casey inspects it for free, for this particular department. I don't know if the rest of the departments are aware.
know what we're talking about. Okay. Resolutions. This first resolution, before I announce it, I just want to clarify that it's discussing the purchase of police vehicles. We purchased them previously, but we're just making this resolution to finance them with a different vendor, at a better interest rate. So I just want to clarify, we're not purchasing more vehicles, we're just refinancing. So, motion to adopt resolution 2019-9, authorizing the purchase of 3 2019 Dodge Chargers at a cost of $106,779.00 with financing through First Home Loan Bank.
So moved.
First on motion, great. Thank you.
Okay, I saw that rate. We get competitive rates.
Yeah, that's why we're switching last year. I got a quote.
That seems a little high.
It's the lowest one, yes.
So, what was the number? Where's the rate?
4.2.
For Carla? For a non-profit, I think it's a little high. That's all I wanted. I assumed we did, but I just wanted to satisfy myself.
There's no penalty for paying off early, so if you do find money, you can pay them off early and not pay them all the interest, you can do that. With the other bank, there's a prepayment penalty. That's another reason why I switched.
Well, that's a good.
And then next year we budget for it and then pay it off in January.
That's a good.
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Summerall?
I have to abstain, I have personal interest.
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
President Kuzma?
Yes. Motion to adopt resolution 2019-10, appointing Rob Roderick and Jim Wisniewski to the Elizabeth Borough Sanitary Authority for a 5-year term. I'll make a motion.
Second.
Question? Roll call.
Commissioner Simula?
No.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes.
Commissioner Beckwith?
Yes.
Commissioner Blake?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Abstain.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
President Kuzma?
Yes.
I changed mine to abstain.
Yeah, I want to change mine.
Now, abstain, that's not bad. You can't abstain.
Why are we, why are we?
Change before they're down, change before they're down, right?
You can change, but you have to have the basics. You can't just abstain.
Because you don't want to vote, you can't do that, you have to have a reason.
Why are we changing names?
I'm upset because, I'm the fire chief of Blaine Home, and the negotiation involves some other purchase of some property behind the fire department, and he has this. I don't want that to interact with that.
That's a good reason.
I asked the question, why are we changing?
Why are we changing names? Because one of our current representatives, was fined in 2017 for $11,000, for unethical activity in the Elizabeth Township Sanitary Authority. And I don't think that, if the Pennsylvania Ethics Commission fined one of our members $11,000 for unethical activity, why would we continue to appoint him as our representative to the Elizabeth Borough Sanitary Authority? I think the Ethics Commission was right in finding him $11,000. I think it should be more than $11,000. I don't think it was just borough authority members. I think it was other people as well. You guys can figure that one out on your own. So that's why I'm nominating Rob and Jim Wisniewski.
All right, now I'd like to make a motion.
Hey, whoa, get to finish.
It's a 5-2 vote.
He's already on it.
Right, go ahead, January.
Tom's kid. Nephew. Brother.
I understand, I vote no.
Whatever. Shouldn't be there.
Okay, items for consideration. Motion to approve commissioner meeting minutes dated 6/3/2019.
So moved.
Second. Question on motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Simula?
Yes.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes.
Commissioner Beckwith?
Yes.
Commissioner Blake?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
President Kuzma?
Yes. Motion to ratify paying the general fund bill warrant dated June 17, 2019, in the amount of $229,733.38.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Simula?
Yes.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes.
Commissioner Beckwith?
Yes.
Commissioner Blake?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
President Kuzma?
Yes. Motion to ratify paying the sanitary fund bill warrant dated June 17, 2019, in the amount of $121,199.45.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Simula?
Yes.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes.
Commissioner Beckwith?
Yes.
Commissioner Blake?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
President Kuzma?
Yes. Motion to approve the general fund bill warrant dated July 15, 2019, in the amount of $417,385.66.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Simula?
Yes.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes.
Commissioner Beckwith?
Yes.
Commissioner Blake?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
President Kuzma?
Yes. Motion to approve the sanitary fund bill warrant dated July 15, 2019, in the amount of $316,612.34.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Simula?
Yes.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes.
Commissioner Beckwith?
Yes.
Commissioner Blake?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
President Kuzma?
Yes. Motion to approve sanitary bond requisition number 67, in the amount of $417.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Simula?
Yes.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes.
Commissioner Beckwith?
Yes.
Commissioner Blake?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
President Kuzma?
Yes. Motion to award the 2019 paving program contract to the apparent low bidder, contingent upon review and recommendation by KLH.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion?
The bid opening was held prior to this meeting, I have the numbers.
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Sewell? Commissioner Walk?
Yes.
Commissioner Wessler? Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Rogers?
Yes.
President Christopher?
Motion to purchase 3 picnic benches for Blondale Park.
So moved.
Question on the motion?
I just want to, yeah, let's,
Go ahead.
go, Boy Scout thing?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, go.
Yeah, so, I'm sure everyone's aware that we just spent, I think, about $40,000 on playground from Blondale Park. It's been abandoned for some time. And, in addition to that, the township's gonna be partnering with the Boy Scouts to renovate a pavilion that's there. There aren't any picnic benches, and it's falling apart. But, as long as the township supplied the materials, the shingles and lumber and paint and everything else, the Boy Scouts are gonna renovate the entire thing.
It's an Eagle Scout project.
Yeah, as soon as the Boy Scouts renovate it, then we'll put the benches in.
Well, the problem is we're gonna put a big shed right next to it instead of what was just.
It's a while away, don't worry.
It's ways away from that.
Well, your definition of ways and mine is different.
Roll call.
Commissioner Sewell?
Yes.
Commissioner Walk?
Yes.
Commissioner Beckles? Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Rogers?
Yes.
President Christopher?
Yes. Motion to approve donation in the amount of $100 to Ballers Golf Course for Operation Second Chance.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Sewell?
Yes.
Commissioner Walk?
Yes.
Commissioner Beckles?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Rogers?
Yes.
President Christopher?
Yes. Motion to adopt the anti-nepotism policy.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion?
We received funds from,
Roll call.
Commissioner Sewell?
First.
Yes.
Commissioner Walk?
Yes.
Commissioner Beckles?
Commissioner
White?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Rogers?
Yes.
President Christopher?
Yes. Motion to approve proposal submitted by Acapella Engineers in the amount of $9,940 to complete an investigation on the Jacktown Road landslide.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Sewell?
Yes.
Commissioner Walk?
What are they doing, Brian?
They'll be doing up to 4 soil borings so that they can determine the necessary remediation for this landslide.
Yes.
Commissioner Beckles?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Rogers?
Yes.
President Christopher?
Yes. Motion to direct the Public Works Department to divert water from Elizabeth Township catch basin located above 410 Circle Drive.
So moved.
Second, and just to give some information on the board, something I was made aware of over in Central, one of our catch basins at an intersection of 3 roads has about 100 feet of terracotta pipe that's coming into this individual's yard, and it's just pouring all the water every time it rains. So, maybe you and I could go up there, Jake, and see if we could either divert the line to go somewhere else, or cap it and connect it to another catch basin or whatever. That's pretty unarguable as our issue. Do a roll call?
Commissioner Sewell?
Yes.
Commissioner Walk?
Yes.
Commissioner Beckles?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Rogers?
Yes.
President Christopher?
Yes. Okay, so before we do this next motion, I have a statement that I'd like to read. Most times, Elizabeth Township is sort of the forgotten area of Vermont Valley. You read the Vermont Valley Independent, and I know that anyone that reads it sees all the different activities happening in other municipalities. It seems like everywhere is growing except us. We've been stagnant for 30 or 40 years. But there was a write-up from the editorial board of the Vermont Valley Independent about Elizabeth Township, and this is what the paper had to say about this next motion. Rec center sounds like a great idea. Elizabeth Township residents might have a new space for recreation thanks to a local pastor with a vision. The Reverend Mark Price of Spirit Chapel Church presented township commissioners with a rough outline of his plans to turn a township-owned property on Chapel Drive into a recreation center. The site would be run and used by the church to offer year-round recreational programs for the community. Bryce envisions a space where most events would be free for residents, and any money earned would go back into the upkeep of the property. The township purchased the site in 2009 with intentions of using it as a library, but was initially unable to get grant money to see it through. Over the years, the township has considered various uses for the 9-acre site and spent money to gut the structure and maintain it, but it remains unused. Bryce would like to lease the property and plans to have parishioners who are certified bonded contractors renovate the building into a recreation center. The township would pay for the materials, and the church members would make the building useful again. We think this is a great idea and hope township commissioners feel the same way. The church is offering with money, feasibility studies, and many years haven't been able to produce a solid plan for the property. We hope this chance isn't squandered. Motion authorizes the solicitor to draft and execute a lease agreement of the Chapel Drive property to Spirit Chapel Corp., subject to the approval of the Board of Commissioners, the DCNR conversion, and all other legal approvals. And I'll make the motion.
So moved.
I'll second. Question?
I have this exact same questions that Mrs. Hurt has. And, Ms. Hurt drafted and execute a lease. Matt, can you explain, I understand what it's to draft a lease, but what's execute in here for?
Well, execute would be to approve the lease. I mean, obviously, there's going to be negotiations between myself and the church to get that finalized, and then you guys would obviously have to give the last review.
Okay, so.
Subject to the approval.
Subject to the approval of the Board of Commissioners.
So if we don't approve it, it won't happen.
So the questions that Mrs. Hearn brought up will obviously be thought about throughout this process of negotiation of this lease. I think it's a super valuable property. I'm torn on this one. I know that the Spirit Chapel is a great organization. Could definitely make a go up there, but wow, man, that's a prime property for this place to continue to move. This building isn't gonna be here forever.
For me, this isn't anything personal, because I know that this affects some commissioners. It's nothing personal. For me, it's a business decision, because I had a lot of plans for that property whenever I first got in office. I thought about having a dog park up there, I thought about having a soccer field, I thought about extending Jane Drive. But the problem is the township doesn't have the money. And the second part, I reached out to Highland Highway, who's drilling for gas over on Fallen Timber, because if you drive down Fallen Timber, you see all this equipment laying everywhere. It's like, hey, why can't we just have them take that bulldozer over to Chapel Drive and level it and make a soccer field? So a representative from Highland met me up there. They met with some contractors, and the price for them to make a level, flat piece of ground for a soccer field was $400,000. And for $400,000, you could buy a piece of land that was for sale that's already flat. I mean, like, come on. There's no opportunity I see for the township to grow here. It's been sitting here for 10 years doing nothing. You see, our wonderful politicians can't get anything done. So get it into a private organization's hands. Let them do recreation center, let them run it.
I take offense when you say it's not been developed. The reason it's not been developed is because this board changed every time we were ready to start something up there. We never had the votes for it to go through.
Excuse me.
I can't.
The building was gonna be torn down.
It was, and she voted to have it torn down.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No,
It was
I
a
didn't.
unanimous vote.
No, I didn't.
She voted to tear down that building.
I did not. I want those minutes, Joe. You find those minutes. I did not vote.
And what's the
tear
cost
down.
of putting baseball fields up there? $10 million. How can you spend $10 million in taxpayer money for 4 baseball fields for dirt that we don't need? Whenever you could buy a piece of land that's already flat.
You can't buy it anymore. It's up for sale.
I know, we squandered it, just like we squandered 10 years back
They
here.
weren't allowed to sell it. They weren't permitted to sell it. It wasn't for it. We never even brought it up. Never brought it up.
Yours and Rick's the Commons Church.
I'm on the board of directors for Peace Lutheran.
Yeah, you belong to at least 3
That's where
churches
you get
that I know
$1,000.
since you came.
Yeah, at least I go to church. You sold your soul to the devil.
No, I
Okay. Thank you.
We have the grades from Catholic High School.
Everybody knows that. Actions speak louder than words. $200,000.
This is ridiculous. Why do you need to step in and gavel our wonderful chairman here?
He's a big
All
shot.
right. We'll do a roll
Ridiculous and
call.
childish.
Now we got it.
Chief, support him out.
Mr.
Are you
Chairman, I
kidding
have
me?
something to say.
Chief,
Bank him.
he was out
Then
there,
you
he should
Chief,
stop.
Chief,
Mr. Chairman, I have something to say. Do you mind?
you're commissioner, you're on the top.
Okay,
We've
thank you.
never thrown
Who is
anybody
that
out in the 30 years I've been on this.
I'm
board.
showing you.
On you.
So Frank.
Believe me, my attorney will be contacted.
So Frank.
I don't like ridiculous.
Frank, the plumber.
I've been through a lot. We've never done that. First of all, we need to get out of the rental business.
That's right.
We're
We should be
losing.
selling the Girl
All right,
Scout.
Joanne, I have to take the floor.
There's a first and second, let's take the vote.
I have something to say, please. First of all, we ought to get out of the rental business. You know what we're losing up on Girl Scout camp? You know what we're losing? You have the numbers? Over $50,000.
No, we're not.
Now,
Yes, we are.
we have the numbers.
Can you look at the budget?
You're a biology major. You're talking to a finance
Look at
person.
the township.
Shut up.
Look at the.
I'm talking.
Look at the township.
Shut up. Got me removed.
Give it to him, Don. Give it to him. Don't bang our gavel.
They are not making. We got the numbers. We'll show it to you.
All right, do a roll.
No, I'm not
And he's
finished
up there,
talking.
they're yelling.
We gotta get out of the rental business. That's number one. Number two, I resent someone from this board telling people out there that I'm anti-church. I'll stake my reputation against anyone, not only in this room, but especially up on this board. Because I've been in this township longer than anyone. There's a couple that are close. I am not anti-church,
Neither am I.
and I've been on this board 38 years. And I've seen things done by commit people on this board that I've never seen for years.
What's Matt doing up there?
A lot of free coffee.
Doesn't look like legal advice.
No,
They have no
no.
Commissioner Walker.
Yes.
Commissioner Beckles.
No.
Commissioner Blake.
Yes.
Commissioner Evans.
Yes.
Commissioner Robert.
Yes.
President Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Shame on all of you. You took something away from the kids.
Never had anything.
We should.
For 10 years, and the
Money's in the bank.
All right, everybody, we're gonna,
Let me add something else. We're sitting on bond money that is violating IRS regulations. Are you aware of that, Mr. Chairman? You know,
I'm willing to give it back.
what else we ought to do?
I'm willing to give it
What else
back.
we have to do?
Well, we can repurpose it and use it for the sanitary.
I don't think so.
John Muscatello said that we could
Well,
repurpose
Joe
it.
Fellows, he's only a bond, but I'll check with him tomorrow, and I'll straighten him out too.
Okay. All right, we're gonna go to citizens for non-agenda items, Robbie Greenwald.
They'd never throw me out.
I haven't heard anything about the stormwater work for, Rock Run coming through from the school down through, July 11th was a tremendous day for an explanation of why that project is necessary. Flooded a lot of places below the farm property, and the water from that stream, as well as the water from the stream coming down adjacent to the new house that's being built, created tremendous flood out through that whole valley. And I haven't heard anything about the project that was bid, and I'm curious about what's going on and when it's gonna start.
Yeah, the contract was awarded and executed by the contractor. Right now, we're going through the Shelves of Metal review process, and they're getting their materials
Okay, let me get started here now. On 5/22nd, September 22nd of this year, I talked to Dave Root, well, he called me, and he is the supervisor for the DEP of Pittsburgh area. I explained to him about the problem I was having over there on my property in Dennis Street. We talked about the rainwater runoff from Skyview. I told him that the contractor was hired to resolve that problem by installing the brick drain system in there. He told me, period, that he feels that that drain system was installed improperly, which I believe it was too. And the reason why I'm saying this is, Bob, who used to work for KLH, I called him up one day and was talking to Bob regarding the water breaching my trench. Rather than go down to the catch basin, it breached the trench into my yard. Debbie Sword, the next door neighbors, it breached the trench there and went into her yard. Well, Bob basically called me a liar. I don't like that. I was a supervisor for Eastern Chemical for 37 years, and I know what the hell is going on with that damn bull crap. And I told him, I says, the water breached the trench. He said, you should have took a picture of it. Well, you don't believe what I'm telling you then, that it breached it. So what that tell me, and the guy from the DEP, is the trench itself is not absorbing the water the way it should. Behind my shed is nothing but a mud hole. Mud all the time there. Water and mud throughout the whole area. I talked to you guys regarding to have Nick Ansberg to go up there and give us a price on tying Skyview in with the catch basin I have in the bottom of my yard. Because Mickey said that that would work. But whenever we talk to us here, and Andrew said that he felt that Mickey was too expensive. I don't think Mickey was too expensive. Mickey's done work in my yard before in the past. 10 years or so ago, I had human waste in my yard, so you people never put up this stuff. I had human waste because they didn't tap the person's house in on top of the hill, and the waste was coming to my yard, and I had to go to the doctor because my legs were infected. That was 10 to 12 years ago. I put up a lot of crap in that yard, in that property I bought. Time to stop it all right now, period.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Pardon?
Thank you. Yeah, your 3 minutes is up, sir, but thank you.
Well, I got a couple more things.
That's it. I'm sorry, but we're keeping everybody to 3 minutes. I mean, it's a rule. It's not just for you, it's for everybody. So, appreciate if you be respectful of that time, sir.
I'll talk to you after the meeting.
Thank you.
That's not legal advice.
Okay, so, Mr. Forgive me if I butcher this, Carol from 510 Fallen Timber.
Yes, I have a situation at 510 Fallen Timber Road. I've been there for 50 years. Mr. Snelson, the police department, I've been to many, many times, and it just continues year after year. There's a property this gentleman owns next to me on Simpson Hall Road, feet of road to go. Grass is overgrown 6 feet tall. He refuses to cut the grass next to my property. They said, oh, well, the weed whacker we do. When I asked the weed whacker says, no, we were told not to cut anything by your property. For over 25 or 30 years, how many of these people didn't pay a dime for sewage until they got caught, until the property was sold? There's been guns. He rode around for years with a gun in his shoulder vest. We were all afraid to death to go out in our yards. 4 cameras are facing my home, my sister-in-law's home, and 2 neighbors' homes. And they was part of his security system. It's constant. My husband goes out of the house, click, they're out watching us. Every day we live under this ridiculousness, and the police tell me that he works this close to the law, and I can only say that this
understands and have been very good to me, and I appreciate that. But he parks a tractor in my front yard and claims that my husband stole the keys and tells the police to get a search warrant and search my home when he left them in his own house. He threatens neighbors, and we've had it. And everybody tells me there's nothing we can do. It's not fair for us when I pay my taxes year after year, and I have to live in these conditions. Where's your address again? 510 Fallen Timber Road.
Where are the gentlemen?
Yes, they know.
What's his address, do you know?
It's right next door over there.
It started up again for a long time after the rest of one supply down.
This is, it's constant, sir. You
I
know
know
it,
we've
and,
been up there the last month a couple of times already.
right.
I
The
think it's
property,
cited for high grass.
and it's,
Using the other day, the other week, I'm sorry, right
it was
after.
2 weeks ago, sir.
That was your, what is that? Brother?
No, my husband.
Your husband, I'm sorry. Right after that, the other code enforcement officer went up there, went home, off, and take a look at the situation, and then they pulled the dog check. See what.
Well, just like you got, the weeds on 6 Mile Road are 6 feet tall. You know, and they explain to me, well, it has to be redone every time. We just get tired of it. They're tired of seeing us, and believe me, we're tired to have to call them. And I wish somebody could help us.
You weren't taking care. You write your phone number down for me.
Yes.
Okay, Angel Mendo.
This ought to be good.
I just wanted to address the issue that occurred with the community center building 3 rental in June. I'm just gonna go through this quickly because I don't need the buzzer. So in 2018, I rented the building in June and was told upon the key return that they never bent the rules on rentals because I wanted to book it at that time for 2020. The procedure at that time was told to me that they come to the Township building the first business day of the month, a year in advance, no exceptions. Wait in line, and it's first come, first served. So we'll fast forward to this year, several phone calls were made prior to, June 3rd by all those in line with me, and we were told the procedure was still the same. One phone call was made as late as Friday, May 31st, and we were told the same thing. I was first in line at 5:45 a.m. At the opening of business, we were all told that every Saturday in June was taken by email request made after midnight by elected officials. So the questions I have are, I'd like to know who authorized the change in the process? Was it voted on in a meeting? Why wasn't everybody told of the change by phone? When did they call? And how were deposits turned in for said email requests? Because there was no way to turn in deposits online. Those that were in line and took time off work had their deposits turned in the morning of June 3rd.
Okay, so I'll answer one question you didn't ask, and then I'll go after the.
Okay, thank
So
you.
first off, I just want to clarify that none of the, whenever you said elected officials, none of the elected officials up here got, just so you know. I don't want you to think that, well, you know, we got preferential treatment. I wasn't aware of the policy change, and the board didn't vote on it, but we delegate authority sometimes. We delegate certain authority to different individuals that work in the township. Whenever they adopt different policies, that's at their discretion. The commissioners are ultimately responsible for the actions that our employees take, but we delegate that authority to them. Now, I understand that, if I stood in line at 5 in the morning for a day, and I got in the door and it was taken, I wouldn't be that thrilled either. So what we are gonna do, probably at the next meeting, the commissioners are gonna adopt our own policy, so that things like that don't happen. Whether we eliminate the email exception, or if we go to an all online system, or however we do it, we're gonna make sure that what happened to you doesn't happen to anybody else.
So what can be done for what happened to me?
So from what I understand, you were able to get the day after, right? You were able to get Sunday.
Yes.
Did the other individuals get days, you know?
Yes, Sundays.
Well, I don't think there really is anything we can do. if you deposit the money and end it today, we have to get your deposit back. If you got a different day, there's something we can do to refund you. But the only thing we can do is just fix the policy moving forward, that way it doesn't happen again.
Well, I would suggest that prior, when you do fix the policy, that you have that policy in place before you start taking changes to it, before you allow people to do something that is, you know, not what everyone else is told they should do it.
I agree, so we'll fix it, so it doesn't happen again.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Would it be possible to think about doing a lottery for this scenario? Because these days become really popular.
I've only been here 3 years, and this is the first time in 3 years that we've had a problem. So I don't, Andrew and I have been working to change the policies and get those out to you guys to review and comment on. I don't see why we have to change the whole entire system to one day that we have a problem.
They used to, when they first started, allowing, reserve to 3 years in advance.
Right.
And it was getting too hard,
People had a
deposits change.
$50, and we had to honor that. So John and I, when I became employed here, switched to the year to date. Now, when we say year to date, I literally mean year to date. If you want June 15th of next year, you have to come in June 15th of this year.
Well-
But somehow that got communicated incorrectly, and so we had to stick with it. People started saying we have to come in the first day of the month. Well, I can't just change that now that we've told 350 people they have to come in the first day of the month. So this new policy, hopefully after you guys review it, will fix that problem, and we'll have 30 days before we implement it, so everybody can be made aware.
Just so you know, I talked about how commissioners delegate authority to different township employees. Those township employees have come and gone, so every time they come and gone, there's a change, which is about every 2 years, and what happened this year. But, yeah, generally, the new employee comes in and implements a new policy, so that's one of the issues why we have these inconsistencies. So, the commissioners are gonna get together and work on it, and we'll talk with one of our own, and that'll be permanent, and we'll make sure, everything is fair.
I would like to know, how often is the place rented?
Every weekend.
Every weekend.
Going 1 or 3 times every single weekend and almost every weekday. Maybe you have a random Wednesday that it's open. That's it. It is very, very popular.
And even, we don't go without air.
Right.
It's right in the summer, or
If I should have been on service, I'm on it.
We even had, more weddings that taking place up there. We had 2 in the last week.
Now, I did hear online, someone had emailed me that the gutters, the rain gutters were full. And
We're very well aware of it, and working and addressing some maintenance issues up there.
when it was raining, it was just all.
Actually, Commissioner Walk and I were up there, spent a good amount of time, and went through building by building and made a list of items that need attention, and that was one of them, actually, he came back and cleared off what he put on one of them, the other ones do need, with the range you have, they fucking.
We're in need of a caretaker at that place. Anybody knows one, wants to volunteer, paid job? We have a fellow that just retired from Public Works that really wants to do this job for next year. Need somebody now. Can't rely on the Public Works guys to do this because they're already too busy, they can't be cleaning gutters. They get big holes in Mansfield to deal with. If anybody knows somebody that's willing to do this, please, come up to the meeting afterwards and tell me. I'd like some leads, I've called several people, previous caretakers not interested.
Okay. You good? All right, Stephen Dent from 302 Donna Drive.
You claim to be losing money and then want to hire a caretaker.
Last time I came here and spoke, I think I paid yearly. I had roughly $6,700 of damage done to my house and my property. officer up there and took note on it. There's very few people that knew I was gonna run to be on this board several years in a row. Word got out that I was gonna do it. A few people had some anger management issues. And I don't know who could have done this to my property, but like you just said, my name and my address. Somebody found out my address and somebody took care of my house pretty good. I don't know why. I have no enemies.
Why?
Why not? I have no enemies.
And when did they do it?
June 12th. You guys didn't cancel the meeting last month, so I didn't get a chance to come, but.
What did they do?
What happened? They scratched my personal car. They scratched the foot brake. I got to paint the entire car. They egged my house so bad, it took 6 people to get it off, and it's not off my brick. My house looks like hell right now because of it. I'm like the nicest guy. I take everybody's kids everywhere. I'm like the guy they all come to for things. Somebody, and the thing is that I talked to someone that wanted to be on this thing too, and their house got egged. So I know, not a coincidence. Not blaming anybody, but maybe like what's going on here between Mr. Sula and Joanne and you, it's gotta stop, man. This hatred has to stop. The hatred has to stop, Andrew. Nothing against any of you guys, but man, you gotta work together. This is not together. This church wants to get into this place. Do they really want to after tonight? Look at what's going on here. Do they really want this weight on their shoulders? Okay, so I have a minute left. Donna Drive is becoming a zoo. Since when are you allowed to park your cars on the front lawn? Elizabeth Township, when I moved in here 15 years ago, if you parked after 2 a.m. on the street, you got a ticket. They didn't enforce it, but it was in some paperwork somewhere. Everyone on Donna Drive is parking on their front lawns now. They all got 50-foot long driveways with one car in it, but they're all parking up to their front door. I grew up in the city of Pittsburgh. I moved out of here because I didn't want to put up with that. It takes the value of my property down. It takes the value of my neighbor's properties down. Somebody just moved out. I have a blighted property across the street from me. I believe you had something turned into this week about the grass cutting issue. I know the bank's responsible for that, but I hope somebody follows up with that. But is there an ordinance that says you can't park on your front lawn? I mean, because of pure laziness?
Yep. Yep.
It's pure laziness. It's pure laziness. But I hope the police chief finds out who did that to my house. It's really wrong thing to do. You could throw a million eggs at my house, I didn't care. When it comes to my personal property, that hit me hard. You guys need to fix this, what's going on. I wish you guys the best. Don't fight with me, please.
Carol Daly?
Carol Daly. For years I've said the text amendment and rezoning map process was flawed. It was illegitimate, unethical, immoral, and deceptive. There is no legal proof that anyone other than the township rezoned a property or initiated the text amendment, which was not reviewed during the hearing. You essentially gave any LNG power plant carte blanche to construct anything they want, including a compressor station, an LNG processing plant, or an ethylene processing plant, to use it for alternative fuel as they did in Illinois. This will now be a 639 megawatt power plant that will require DEP permission for at least 64 tap-ins. You asked no questions, placed no limitations. You isolated Smithdale and are allowing your community to be subjected to heavy industry, shredding as light industry. They have no roads, no water hydrants, no sewage line, no representation. But I'll cut to the chase. Why aren't ordinances 940 and 941 recorded? The county doesn't have it, it's not E-coded properly, and it's not on the official map. You had 30 days after December 20 to properly record them. It took you 2 years to take them to a hearing, but yet they're not properly recorded. You can't say you forgot. Is it to keep other power companies, their competitors, from signing contracts with M1 property owners? Is it to prevent others from following your same process to rezone their properties to M1? Is it to keep Invenergy from signing contracts with other M1 property owners instead of Castora? Is it to keep Castora from allowing their contract to expire and sign with a competitor, or use their property for other M1 permitted uses? Everything you have done, including buying bonds, depends on those two ordinances, and yet they aren't recorded. Question: is not properly following through according to the VA municipal code by recording the ordinance a manner to keep things as promised? Who has the most to lose? The township, Castora, Invenergy, or unknown individuals? Since these ordinances are not recorded, why don't you just instruct your planning commission to immediately write a text amendment to rescind and repeal in total ordinances 940 and a text amendment to rescind and repeal in total ordinances 941 before any complications arise? Or we can submit the same and expect a hearing 45 days thereafter, just like City Junior did.
23 seconds left.
Thank you. Jerry Lake?
So I did not respond.
They don't have to.
I live at 2436 Green Oak Vista Road, and I had a water problem for a while in the rear of my house. I don't know if you're aware of it, but all the water from Mount Vernon School, the roof, the rear parking lot, the front parking lot, and now Forensic, all ends up in my backyard. It goes through a pipe, an outlet, 18 inches in diameter. So today, I went up and I tried to calculate. Some of those animals, you can't see down there, but I assume they're at least 10 inches. If you do the calculation, not counting the roof, you're cramming 70 inches of water, which would, I'm sure was full on July 6th, July 7th, and July 11th. That all ends up in my yard. I can't even cut grass. The other problem is, there's so much water coming down Frederick. There's 3 drains on Frederick. Those also go into that same pipe, which is my yard. So those drains fill up. Now it's going out on 243, or on the Green Oak Vista Road. It goes down the hill, and the first break past Verizon is my driveway, which has a small 30-inch slope. All the water ends up in front of my garage door. You open the garage door, it's like opening a dam. Now, the problem at the school, I've been barking about for a long time, back to John McCord days. And his answer was, there's no money, we can't fix it. The township's taking my sewer money, I'm lending them money. John's not here to defend himself, because he passed away. But the problem's getting worse with the deluge of rain we've had in the last week. I mean, it's ridiculous. The problem with the school and the new daycare center, I mean, that's just absolutely ridiculous how long that's been going on. You know, what gives the school the right to dump all their water from their parking lot, their roof, onto my property? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, there he is on both sides, because that's why Frankie is here.
Yeah, Frankie took the videos.
Sorry,
I wasn't home.
Sorry about that.
Frankie
Yeah.
Drive was
He's talking about his
fast,
phone.
Frankie got it in his basement.
And Brian, have you been up to look at this?
You can't believe how much water
Jake was up.
I'm sorry, what's your waste then? Yeah, I know.
I was told the water company was gonna take care of it, since they put the water line in there, and they offered to close the road.
Yeah, but here, it sounds like there's 3 separate issues. One with the water company, and they didn't put a berm on there. One sounds like our water, and 3 sounds like the school's water. So, I mean, it sounds like
School with the water.
Yeah, but who's responsible for the school's water?
the school's a school.
I complained, this is the only year I ever complained to them. Their janitors dump some kind of gray, waxy water in their outside drain that ends up in my creek. It's
gray for days. I have deer come in my yard every night, and they drink out of that creek. I call, it stops the next year through the summer, because they're cleaning and waxing and whatever. And then this is the first year out of the last 4 years it didn't happen. So I know that parking lot water is coming out of my creek.
Well,
But if you, like I said, you do the calculation, and like I said, I can't see in some of those, especially the school parking lot. They're the old style drains, they're built into the curb, so you can't see inside there. I don't even know if they're collapsed. I mean, the township used to rebuild so many of those every year, because my father-in-law used to rebuild them, because he was masonry.
well, we're responsible for our water, and if our water is going onto your property, that's something we have to look at, and we have to take care of. The school.
The short-term fix in the front of the house, because of the amount of water coming down Frederick, is to raise that gutter going into my driveway.
Yeah, and
That's a short-term fix.
And we had a conversation about that, and that, the water company agreed to do that, correct? That was where we were at, but PA American is supposed to do that, it's on their schedule to do that, and because they came through and they basically changed the grade there, and they said that they
They
were gonna.
take one side of the road, they put it
Nobody knew anything about it, nobody had conversations about it.
And they only
Okay,
paid
what
one
you
side.
like?
And he only takes one side.
And I thought that we made an ordinance one time, that we made, I know we did that.
Changed it from one side
To the entire road, that's why they're able to do this.
They raised the elevation of that road when they repaved it.
But see, they used to do this everywhere, they would only pave half the road, and this board come through and said, we're gonna change the ordinance, said if they come through, even if they're on one half the road, we're making them repave the entire road. And we have to do some research, that's not, but they should repave
But
that road. So we
they
have
put
to look
the
at
new
that.
water line in 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was longer than 3 years ago, it was probably closer to 5 years ago, but.
But there's some problem with it ever since, and
Yeah.
they've been back there a couple of times, and it's still not fixed.
But we did change that ordinance, I know we changed it, we just have to find out.
But anyway, so short-term fix is to raise the elevation of the asphalt where it goes into my driveway to create a bigger gutter, for lack of a better word, to handle the water so it doesn't come down my driveway.
Well,
I also have 1.5 inches, I built it myself, 1.5 inches, concrete stop right at the doors, because it did it all the time, so I put that 1.5 inch stop there, so when we go into the garage, we have to go over a little speed bump. That's held it until 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and now this year is the worst year, because it's happened 3 times in a matter of 6 days.
And we have one rain, we absolutely have one rain.
But that's not solving the problem.
No, exactly, well,
If you don't know how much rain you're gonna get, if you have when you're gonna get it.
but you do know, if there's a problem, there's water coming, you know that there's a problem there, I mean, and our issue is,
But like I said, if you take the diameter, which I'm sure was full on the 6th, 7th, and 11th, you're at least 70 inches, not counting what's on that roof at Mount Vernon Elementary, going into a pipe that comes out that's only 18 inches in diameter. You couldn't stand in that creek. It would knock you over. I mean, it's going 15, 20 mile an hour.
well, I think what we can do, I think we could have, we could direct Jake to at least put a temporary roll curb up there, Jake, but I think Matt needs to talk to the water company about them getting out and paving that curb to curb. Because if we put a temporary roll curb, the first time we send the plow up there, that roll curb is on it somewhere else.
I put one there myself about 3 years ago.
It'll get knocked right off.
It did get knocked off.
Oh, really?
The plow has not hit it, but it's too low
Yeah.
for all the amount of water that we're getting now.
Yeah, because it needs to be built up. But I think we need to have our solicitor contact PA American, dig up the ordinance and say, because, you know, we did pass it, it was curb to curb. And that's how we had them redo that. And if they didn't do that curb to curb, they need to come back and do that section curb to curb. But until then, if that takes 2 to 3 months, like you said, we need to have a fix right away.
Yeah, we need a short term fix.
At least have Jake go look at it and put a temporary curb in. The other fix.
Really, an asphalt contractor could do that in half a day. That's not a big deal.
Our guys can do it. Our guys can do it.
Even your own people.
Yeah, our guys can do it.
We just have the ability to get, hot asphalt. I mean, I go buy cold asphalt, but it wouldn't stay there.
But the other problem we have to look at where the water, the other problem with the water coming onto your property. If it's our water coming from our catch basin, that's something we have to look at too.
It's right up from the school and it's coming down Frederick Street.
And that's a
And
school
Frankie's
issue.
got the video.
Yeah, I just showed it.
He sent it to you?
I saw it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a massive amount of water. I went back and talked to my neighbor. She's been flooded out. The two houses, I don't even know what the little connecting street, really, two houses on that street. They've both been flooded out. They're built into the hillside before you get into the cemetery.
And we're gonna look at it on.
I'd like to have 2 more minutes added to my time. I have a big major problem on Dennis Street. He cuts me off. This man keeps blabbering, it's like a bullshit. I got a big major problem in my house.
That's it. I just like to have a quick punch.
Just give us the.
Yeah, but on the bench. He can come here for months bitching about it. All of a sudden he comes in and gets fixed.
The Allegheny County's Health Department had a meeting on Thursday about the power plant. It was titled the Environmental Justice Information Meeting. At any rate, this was their information sheet, which they handed out at the beginning of the meeting, or they had it on the table. And I just want to read a part of it. The potential to emit from the facility will be limited to 145 tons per year of nitrogen oxides, 170 tons per year of carbon monoxide, 24 tons per year of sulfur oxides, 93 tons per year of volatile organic compounds, 10 tons per year of hazardous air pollutants, 45 tons per year of particulate matter, 90 tons per year of particulate matter with an aerodynamic diameter of less than 10 microns, 90 tons per year of particulate matter with an aerodynamic diameter of less than 2.5 microns. I guess those are the really dangerous ones. 22 tons per year of sulfuric acid mist, and 890 tons per year of carbon dioxide equivalents. That's a total of 1,951,882 tons per year of pollutants out of this plant. We talked a whole lot about the air modeling for the plant, and the Allegheny Energy Center representative wasn't real clear about that, but as nearly as I can tell, because I live north of the power plant, the wind blows south to north. So these pollutants are going to blow up the river valley, and I suspect that they're going to go all over the place. So I hope that you folks understand what you're doing when you rezone the historic property, and that you understand what this power plant is going to bring to this township and what it has the potential to do to this township and the people who live in it and the property values of everybody around it. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, anything else for the good of the township? Motion to adjourn?
No, wait a minute.
No, you only got one, Sam.